Welcome to Event Radio, covering local drag racing, stock car racing, motorcycles, go-karts. If it's got wheels and you can race it, you'll hear about it here. Event Radio is motorsports radio on steroids. Now, let's join your hosts, Spivvy Williams and Terrible T Guy.
Guys, welcome to the next edition of Event Radio. We're going to bring you a very special show here today. We're going to introduce you to not only a up-and-coming superstar racer, but the whole family, because racers do that. Families stay together. It's not like any other sport that you will participate in, and on this show, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess you would say. But we're going to tell you a little history about the young man that we're going to introduce you to. You have heard on on Event Radio many times that we not only interview the record makers, the record holders, but the record makers. The gentleman we're going to introduce you to today is a up-and-coming superstar in the world of round track racing, and he will be one of the guys that will be rewriting the record books. You can write that down, count on it, it's going to happen. We've had the pleasure of knowing this young man for a long, long time, and we've watched him since he was a little kid, and he's a great big kid now. But he has everything it takes to be able to be the next superstar in the world of round track stuff. So we're gonna take a real quick little break. And by the way, T is sort of sitting out with us today. I'm having to wing it by myself because he had an appointment he just could not get out of, and one of those deals. But trust me, we'll make it. Everything will be all right. We're going to take a quick break, say hi from our sponsors, and we will be right back. All right, guys, we are back, and we're going to introduce you to what this whole show is about is a fellow by the name of Mr. Blake Isenburg. But to know a little bit more about Blake, you got to learn a little bit more about where Blake came from. And in order to do that, we have Mom and Dad, Mr. Eldon and Miss Janie Isenburg, on here with us. Eldon even goes back a little farther. That Eldon's dad, or Blake's granddad, was one of the total fixtures of Beach Bend back years ago. And where I'm going with this is he was a gentleman that I grew up knowing as a kid, and he was one of those guys that just commanded respect. He was very nice, but when he told you something, by golly, you better listen, because he was expecting you to do what he asked you to do. Now, the reason I'm saying that, I think, and I've said a million times, that race cars teach you respect over any kind of sport. And Eldon, you've been there, buddy. You've sat in the seat. You've turned the steering wheel. Past truck champion, lots of things that you've done, and a past detective, I believe, with the Kentucky State Police. And so you know all about respect being important. How much has the racing taught respect to Blake? I know you and Janie did it great as a parent, but that teaches him too.
Well, I think what happened with Blake is we made a pact when he started racing that as long as he kept his grades at a certain level and he worked on the race car, he could race.
Okay.
And we didn't miss any races because of that. But I think the fact that he was down there working on the race car, getting his hands dirty and understanding what the race car does and what it cost to put that race car on the track, that in itself gave him the respect to not go out there and just beating and banging and running over everybody.
Yeah, one of the worst things that I think, and one of the stupidest statements that I have ever heard, was in a movie, a Tom Cruise movie, and it said, "Rubbing is racing." Well, now, anybody that thinks that running into another car is going to give you speed is about as totally dumb as anybody I can come up with.
That's right. Exactly right.
Racing is finesse. Racing is using every bit of power and making that thing as smooth as possible. When you were in the trooper deal, okay, you had to run some pretty fast speeds on the interstate. Did that help your race car career?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think the fastest I ever went down I-65 here past Bowling Green was 147 miles an hour.
Must have been a hurry to get there, huh?
Well, I was chasing the guy.
Oh, is that what it was?
In a Crown Victoria with a shoulder strap on, and I'm thinking now, you don't even get on the oval track to run 100 miles an hour unless you got full safety gear. And I thought, man, how silly is that?
Yeah, but you haven't got a bunch of crash dummies out there to run into you.
Well, that's true too. Everybody's kind of going the same direction for the same purpose.
And they sort of see the trooper car, and they might get out of the way a little bit.
Maybe
They didn't really.
No, not a lot.
Oh,
that's why we ended up down the median. That's really what honed skills was dodging these people that wouldn't get out of the way. We'd be running 100 miles an hour chasing somebody, and you get behind somebody, they just bow up and stop in front of you. And now you got to miss them. So that's why we ended up down the median sideways and back up on the road and take off again. So yeah, it did hone my racing skills.
Well, because you did really well in your stint of it, and like I said, it's not very unusual for the fruit to fall far from the tree because he's had an excellent instructor. Let's put it that way. And you've had a great student. Now, I mean, got to give the due where it's due here.
Right, yeah.
You can be really good as a teacher, and if you got one over going dolly dolly doo doo, your talents aren't very good.
Right.
But you've been lucky. You've had both, and it shows with this young man. I mean, he's nobody's dummy in a race car now.
No, he's not. And I was impressed when he come to me and said, "I want to race." I didn't force this on him. I was racing the trucks at the time, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to do that." So he had the desire, and it's not like some of the drivers out there. They're running. The kids are driving race car through their father.
Yeah, I understand. Sure.
So. But he had the desire and he had the want to, and turns out he got to be pretty daggone good at it.
Yeah, well, guys, a lot of you that are listening, I don't know if you're in California or New York or wherever you are, but before I did the little radio thing, I had a little outfit called Race World, and Race World was a NASCAR-themed family entertainment center that was a go-kart track. And I got to, of course, I'd known Eldon for a long, long time and Miss Janie for a long time. But I got to meet Blake pretty much at that venue. And most of the young kids that came in there thought they were bumper cars.
Yeah.
And he was totally different. And I mean, we worked in it. We saw it 24 hours a day almost because we at least 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And it was really, really unusual to see Blake come in there with his little buddies. And the rest of them would be out there trying to knock each other into next week. And he'd lay back and pass them. Yeah. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to figure out how to pass them. And that was just so unusual. Now, every once in a while, you run into one like that, and he is one like that. And it just got my attention then. I've never forgot that.
Yeah, and you're talking at 9 or 10 years old.
Or younger.
Or younger, yeah.
Or younger. Yeah. And then, of course, like we said earlier, the movies on rubbing is raking. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But let's change gears to Mom here. Miss Janie, thank you for taking some time to be with us. That's unusual. We don't get many pretty girls on this show, so I mean
that's really nice.
Yeah, there you go. Moms are always the number one cheerleader, and also the number one worrier. How much, as the boy has progressed, has it gotten any easier anywhere? Or are you just as nervous now as the first mini cup race that he ran?
Well, I think the first mini cup race, that was probably the worst. And yes, as his skills have gotten better, and with that, I've gotten a little more at peace. Not totally, but
we talked to a lady that we went down and did the quarter midget races, and she had her little grandson in there. I think he was like 7 or something, and she said she would go to the fence and look through a crack in the fence, because she didn't really want to see it. Were you that bad?
I have found that videoing the races helps me feel like I'm at a different distance.
That's not really him, right?
Not really him out there, and yeah.
Well, I know that he's had a crash or two. Did that drive Mom crazy?
It's hard to stay in the stands like you're supposed to.
Oh, really? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you really?
With the camera going.
Oh, okay. Making sure you were
zooming in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you knew Dad had him pretty well
Absolutely.
taken care of.
Yeah.
Did Has Mom ever got on him for doing something wrong in the race car? Because you got to know. You've been around it with Dad here forever, and then watching him grow up. You know when he does right and wrong, too, just like old Dad does. You ever get on him?
I don't believe I've ever corrected him or talked to him about anything that he should be doing or shouldn't be doing.
Still the cheerleader, huh?
Just the cheerleader.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Camera woman, yeah.
How about you? Have you ever gotten on him?
We've had discussions. But really, after his mini cup days, and he didn't tear up a whole lot of cars in mini cup. He hadn't tore up a whole lot of cars.
Oh, of course not.
And I'm very proud of that.
Bank County is too.
Yeah. When we moved into the baby grands in 2009, he won a national championship.
Uh-huh.
We traveled 25 racetracks in 10 states, I think. We did not do any body repair to that car for the 21 races that he ran. And
that's phenomenal.
It is. And Janie's got video every time he gets on the track. And the way he can weave through and miss a wreck, I can't do.
Well, maybe the days at Race World helped him a little bit,
and
starting out that young,
Yeah, I think it did. And, I raced at Race World.
Yeah.
And it helped me when I got on the track.
Well, it was just like the real deal, except in slow motion, and it taught you lines, it taught you how to control slides, it taught you a lot of stuff.
It did.
And it was fun, too.
Oh, it was the ball.
Yeah, it was.
But and we've had discussions, and they haven't been getting on him.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, hey, what was going on then? What's going on? What was happening at that point? Just making sure that he stays focused when something like that happens in front of him, and he does a great job. We haven't had a whole lot of body repair than his doings.
The mini cups, of course, that's where he started, and that's been years ago. And he won everything in sight. What all did he win in the mini cups?
Oh gosh, we won. I think it was.
You don't have to give them all. But
yeah,
just
well,
a few.
Different states that we run. It's been too long ago, Stevie.
Okay, you are old. I understand.
am old.
You lose your memory when you get old.
It's been a couple nights since he's won everything. But
yeah, I know.
We finished. I know in the top 5 or 6 or top 10 anyway in points every year, and you're talking about 30 to 40 cars across the nation.
There you go. But it was, guys, where I'm coming from with this young man is a national contender. He's not just a local do-good racer. He did that in the mini cups. Then he went on, as you said, in the baby grands and won a national championship in the baby grand.
National championship, 3-track championship.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year, national rookie of the year. He just won everything there was to win in the baby grands.
Well, and then old Dad's got to step him up in a late model. Got to keep on going.
That's right.
And he has done really well with that too.
2012, 2011 was our first year in the late model, and I'm going to say that the baby grand national championship, he was 15 years old.
I know.
The next youngest guy to him that was racing nationwide was 30 years old. We had hard times getting out of tech after the race sometimes because they just couldn't believe this 15-year-old did what he did, and they thought the car was all cheated up. Well, it never was. And that's another thing in racing. I mean, we can cheat a car up and go out there and win.
Sure.
But what have we done?
Nothing. Just like the guys that are rubbing.
Right.
What have they done?
Yeah. Let's go out there and let's do the best we can with the car. Let's do the best we can with our driver. If we win that thing, then now we've got a legitimate win under our belt. We can take that and go anywhere.
That's right.
That's right. We just want to do it fair. We want to be above board with it. We don't get disqualified for cheating.
And I think that as sponsorship opportunities come on down the road, and of course everybody needs those nowadays. I don't care how much money you got, you need a good sponsor. They look for the guys that are straight up clean, straight shooters. They don't want the ones. Yeah, they could care less about your win record as much as your performance at the race, on and off the racetrack.
Right.
Because race cars and racers have a spitting clean image, more so than any other kind of sport out there now. Whether it's your pro sports, your of course, I always say real sports end at high school. The rest of it's all money. but that the respect that you learn in that car is part of it.
Yeah.
I tell you what, guys, we're going to have to take a real quick break, and before this young man's head gets so big we won't be able to get him on the radio, we're going to bring him right to you, and we're going to have him add into this discussion. You're on Event Radio, guys. Just don't go anywhere. Hang in there. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back with the wild Isenburg clan here. No, really, some dear friends of mine, and a young man that I'm getting ready to introduce you to is sure enough a good racer, and has probably the most one of the brightest futures of anybody in any kind of motorsports. Before your head gets too big, Mr. Blake Isenburg, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Well, for an old fat guy, I'm not doing too bad.
Well, that's good.
That's we've got to be real quick with you because you're in high demand. You're taking off out of here, going to Bristol, and going to go have some fun, I presume. How much does the race car experience have anything to do with your schooling? Does it help you at all?
Well, I think the discipline that you learn from it, and just knowing that if times get tough that I can't pass the steering wheel to anybody in the race car. Well, it's the same thing in college. If I got to, break down and study for a test real hard, then you just need to do it and get it on with and just kind of take it on the chin.
So you meet it head on.
Yeah.
And it's taught you to do that. It's taught you that when it gets down to it, I guess, the only one you can blame for anything is the one you're looking at every morning.
That's
in the
right.
mirror, right?
Absolutely.
So you can't go up and say, well, I could have done it if. Because it gets down to I.
Yeah.
Did you know you wanted to be a pro race car driver when you were playing?
Not really. I think I got a lot of that inspiration from Dad when he was driving, and seeing how cool it was and how much he liked it. And I didn't really grasp the fact of how awesome racing was until I went down in the pits and saw how much work went into the car. And once I saw that, knew that, everybody was putting a whole lot of effort into it, that it was definitely worth doing.
And the jockey is just one part of it.
Absolutely.
The part you do out on the racetrack is the accumulated effort of everybody else, that has worked all week to get you there. And I think that's really cool that you realize that at as early of age, rather, as you do. A lot of drivers never figure that out. They think they ought to go out there and just knock people out of the way and that kind of stuff, and they never think about how hard that's going to be on the guys in the shop the following week. Yep. And to say you ran a baby grand all year long and never put a paint swab on it is amazing to me. Which one? When you started the Mini Cup, I know you thought that was really fast.
Yep.
Because you came from zero.
Definitely.
What happened when you moved out of the Mini Cup into the baby grand?
It was about twice as fast.
Did it freak you out at first, or did it take you a while to get used to it, or were you ready to go, or what?
I took to it pretty well, actually. I just hopped right in the car, and it all kind of felt natural. There was definitely some tweaking and tuning I needed to do with my driving at that point, but it wasn't too bad.
Okay, and let's take one more step. What happened when you stepped into the late model and you went from 4 cylinders to 8 cylinders?
Well, it was about 2 times faster.
So it just kept on and kept on.
Yep.
Well, so basically, from the days you were playing at Race World, it was a natural progression,
right,
to go up. What got you into back then, when you were like 8 or 9 years old, to not want to do like the other kids and beat and bang? Why, you would think you would do that.
Well, just because everybody beats and bangs, and there's got to be that one person to win the race, and it's usually not the one that's beating and banging. That's
pretty cool. That's a pretty good statement. A lot of guys haven't figured that out yet either.
That's right.
They haven't figured out that the track is wide enough to pass a car instead of knocking it out of the way. Yeah. Danica Patrick as a driver, good or bad?
As a driver, I couldn't say too many good things about her as a driver. I think she's a good PR person or, sponsor representative, but
what does she do wrong?
Messes up a lot.
Okay.
I feel.
Does she mess up or does she have help? We're making him think on that.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, you may not, and this is a part trick question to you, And the reason I'm going to say this is that Danica Patrick came out of a 240 mile an hour race car into a less than 200 mile an hour race car. So it's almost like you coming out of the late model and getting back into Baby Grand.
Right.
Okay. You should be able to do that flawlessly without any problem.
Should be.
She's not doing that. But on the other hand, out of all of her crashes, only one has been her fault. The rest of them, they've knocked her into our rubbing is racing, knocked her into the cheap seats. So a lot of people have different opinions, and I always like to get that because she's a very controversial. She's the best thing probably since Junior that's happened to NASCAR.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no question about that. Yeah. She's made the ladies interested in the sport. She's got the guys interested in her, because she's a good-looking gal. But still, she's sort of getting a little bit of a bad time, and she's been faster, sort of like the guy said, backwards and on fire than most of them guys have ever gone,
I think that some of that might be because of the Sprint Cup cars being a little bit heavier and harder to throw around and turn and kind of manhandle than the car she were driving. Okay,
so the same thing is true with your Mini Cup car, or not your Mini Cup, but your Baby Grand car in the late model.
Right.
It was that much of a different experience for you. So that may be one of her things that she hadn't figured out yet.
Something she needs to overcome.
Yeah. As of yesterday, a kid came out of nowhere at Bristol and has broken the track record even with the Winston Cup cars in a truck. Where do these guys come from? Any idea?
I guess places like where I'm at right now.
Well,
just from the bottom.
They learned their craft. I mean, because this kid goes out there, and I talked to my buddy David McGee, which is the announcer at Bristol Motor Speedway, and he said, I started not to even say anything about the kid because I never heard of him. And here he goes out there and goes faster than Gordon or any of them, even in a Cup car. And he said, whoa, Well, I think that might be what will happen to you one of these days, friend. You'll sort of sneak up on them from the backside, and all you need is a sponsor and a ride to do that, and you got a good ride. I mean, there's no question about that. Yep. But you're still getting that experience now.
Definitely.
Any race you want to run that you hadn't run?
I like to run the Snowball Derby in Florida.
My mom probably like to go to that.
Oh, she'd love it.
I'm for that.
Yeah, you're for going to Florida and spending the winter down there and racing? Is that
Absolutely.
What that works? Yeah, there you go.
Just the bigger events with the JAG CRA series and stuff like that to really help get my name out there and see how I hold up to all the big name late model drivers.
Well, I don't think they're going to intimidate you much.
Not at all,
buddy. I don't think they really will. A lot of them. NASCAR right now and the whole NASCAR series has sort of gotten a little bit off track. Anybody that can come with a sponsorship has got a ride. If you can take $20 million with you today, Hendricks Motorsports will hire you.
Yep.
And put you in a car. But you have to take that sponsorship with you, and that's not really fair to a guy like you that has the experience, has the talent. To earn that on your own. What about that, Eldon? What do you think there?
Well, I called one of the top truck teams about 2 weeks ago, just to see what it would cost to do that. I want to know, if is it feasible? Can we get our marketing people to go out and try to find this money and things like that? And the first question was, do you have the budget for it? And I said, well, I don't know what the budget is. He said, well, to get in one of our trucks and we'll run you up front, it's $3.25 million.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And he said, now, and the second question well, I asked them, I said, well, what do we have to do to get Blake cleared to run NASCAR tracks? He's got his NASCAR crew license. We don't have his driver's license. He said, oh, we won't worry about that. He said, that's just a paper trail.
That's exactly where I was coming from.
Exactly. And I thought, well, here is exactly what I've been thinking all along. You don't have to have talent. They didn't even ask what his background was.
Well, I mean, you can look at some of the guys on Sunday when you watch TV, and they've got about as much business there as me, which is none. And they take the cubic dollars with them, and that's what gets them there. And then the talent, the raw talent gets passed over, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
You know, so because of Blake's championships and our wins and I guess Blake's reputation on the track, we get calls and we actually get hired as drivers coaches for young kids. We've been to Missouri twice with a team out of Oklahoma and one out of Arkansas. We took a 15-year-old Arkansas driver, never been in a late model, and took him to New Smyrna for Speed Week. Raced him four races down there. You know, driving, coaching, and crew chief type thing. Blake is excellent at talking to these young kids and
well, they respect him because they know he's been there and done it. You know,
the one in the team from Oklahoma had raced at this Lebanon I-44 Speedway. It's a beautiful facility out in Lebanon, Missouri. The CRA race had their first big race out there, 8,000 to win, and you know, Chase Elliott was there and Ross Kenseth and everybody. The team calls us and says, "Can you come out here and get us in the race?" Well, I don't know. You know, we'll try. We went out there, and the kid was pretty good. He was 14 or 15 or something like that, and he did a decent job on the track. Blake was talking with him. We were ready to line up to go qualify. Kid comes on the radio, and he says, "Hey, can you come back here a minute?" So we walked back there, and we said, "Yeah." And he said, "What am I supposed to do in qualifying? I've never qualified before." Well, that's a whole different ball game.
Oh, yeah.
We set the car up to qualify.
Yeah.
So I said, "Blake, you better talk to him."
Yeah, there you go.
So, and we qualified him. We got him in the race, but it was because Blake had that rapport or that respect from these young kids, and they listened to him. And
well, there again, that just proves respect is earned. It's not given. You know, you have to earn it. And what can... Is there any particular sponsor, Blake, that you've been courting a little bit, maybe that you need a little push over the edge to get to talk to them or something?
Any sponsor would be great at this point. It'd be great to have one, and you know, help me out. I'll help them out.
Yeah, it's a two-way street.
Yeah,
buddy.
definitely.
You got to make it worth their deal. You know,
represent their company all good and keep a good professionalism at the track. Not be like you said, running into everybody and just amateur stuff.
Well,
we're a professional team, professional at least in our ways.
Well, that comes from experience and education, and like I said, goes all the way back to Granddaddy. You know that when you command respect, you get respect if you make it sure that they understand that that's what it's going to be, and that's I don't know. It's fun for me, having done what I have done in the past, to watch a young guy like you, because I know where you're going. You know what I mean? You're not there yet, but I know where you're going. And that's really a cool deal as far as I'm concerned. We're going to take one more little quick break, and then we'll be right back, and we'll find out just a little bit more. You're on Event Radio, guys. Do not go anywhere. Hang in there. All right, guys, we are back with Mr. Blake Isenburg and Miss Janie and Daddy Eldon here. And we were talking a little bit earlier during the break. Their team is a family operation, and so many teams, boy, you got 15 or 20 guys, and you guys are accomplishing it pretty much as a duo here, you know?
We are, and we've, a few years ago, we got hired by one of those teams that wanted 15 or so people at the track for a year long for the Baby Grand race, to run a Baby Grand season for the national championship, and you know, the kid's dad kept on saying, "Don't you need more people?" Well, no. We finished second in the nation with the kid that never drove a full-body stock car before he come out of a go-kart.
There you go.
And we took him and traveled 10 states or so, and won a few races with him. And you know, we didn't need that. He didn't mind spending the money to have them. We just didn't need them.
Yeah. Well, that. You know, the overkill can be easily done. You know, that you don't, you get too many chiefs and not enough Indians that way that don't really do their job. You know, Blake, let me ask you something, buddy. What are you studying in school?
I'm going to major in automotive technology and high performance automotive.
Motorsports.
Well,
or High Performance Motorsports.
yeah, you should do pretty good there. You got a little bit of a one up on them.
Yeah.
You know? What got you? Did the racing just make your mind up that you wanted to spend the rest of your life doing that?
Definitely. I've noticed in the race car that if I hear something on the track or something I'd like to know, have a general idea of what it is or how severe it is, and when I get back to the pits, how can I fix it, or tell Dad to fix it if it's in the middle of a race. Or
Let me ask you something. Last lap, leading a race, how many of those little things do you hear?
a ton.
I figured you would. That you'd never heard the rest
it's the
of the
last
race.
lap, so you don't pay attention to them.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought after one race we're going to have to rebuild the whole car, all the stuff you'd heard in there, that
Yeah,
last
last lap.
mile,
I mean, all those gremlins are loose, boy, and I mean, you're just saying, oh man, just one more lap, just make it do that.
Just hold it together.
Yeah.
He has got some great communication skills simply based on his experience about what is going on in the race car.
Well, see, that's how much easier does that make it for you?
Well, yeah, or for any crew chief.
Yeah.
They always talk about chemistry between the driver and the crew chief. I mean, Blake has always been able to get out of that car and say, I think we need to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I pretty much rely on what he's feeling in the seat.
Other than some of them get out and say, after I drink my tea, I'll get back in there.
Yeah.
Right.
And y'all figure it out. Just make it go fast.
Right.
How I don't understand. I understand the automotive technology part, but what's the performance part in school? If they'd had that, I probably would have gone a little longer.
Well, basically, you go through all your regular or general automotive classes and learn what everything is, and then with the high performance, you learn how to make it faster and better.
Okay.
And tune on it, work on it, and.
Well, how about your instructors? What kind of credentials did they have to teach you that?
I think they've had to be in the field for so long and taken a few automotive classes themselves.
Okay, all right. So they got to know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed talking to people that my buddy that I've had on this show a couple of times, Mr. Dickie Ogles, was a automotive shop teacher, along with being a championship drag racer. He's won more NHRA Wallies than anybody in the state of Kentucky.
Right.
And his kids that he had were always, they would fight to get in his class. They said, he knows what he's talking about because look what he's done.
Yeah, right.
And even now, they'll come up to me and say, I was in Dickie's class. Some of these young racers that I interview now, they say I was in Dickie's class. And that's cool that you're taking that in school. I think that's really a neat deal. Blake Isenburg in 5 years. What's going to go on?
Graduating college.
Okay.
Hopefully keep on moving up in the world of racing, and if the cards play right, then I'll get a good sponsorship and we'll go to the top.
There you go, buddy. Where do you have your sights set? With Dad being an old truck guy, do you want to start there, or do you want to go on into the nationwide or truck cup cars, or what?
I wouldn't mind starting in trucks at all. I think there's a ladder that you should climb.
Okay.
I don't think that you should skip ahead because then you get too far out of your league.
What do you think about the cup guys running the less stuff? Is that right or wrong?
Well, I don't know if it's right, but I guess they can do what they want to.
Well, personally, I disagree with it, for the simple fact that I understand why they do it. They're trying to sell seats in the stands and using their name to sell the tickets.
Right. And I think that they're robbing some of the younger, talented drivers that are still developing their skills of what they could have because they're not winning the races and they're not making the statistics that they should be in order to move up like that.
Yeah, and these guys don't really care. They get to a point where the sponsorship is so heavy that the outcome of the race is secondary to them. And I'm gonna make some people really mad at me, but Dale Earnhardt used to spend his race money. You ever know the name of his boat, his pleasure boat? It was called Sunday Money. Mm-hmm. And that's how important. He was a racer. It was important to win, but the having to, the desire factor was not there. Right. Yeah, we want to win. Okay, no. So we did. All right, whoopee. But I think that desire, when you lose that, it becomes ho hum. Even if you're watching from the outside,
it's almost like a hunger. And once you get it, you're not hungry anymore. Once you've made it to the top and you've raced so many races, I've seen a lot of drivers in today's racing that they don't look hungry out there on the track. They're not really driving the car. They're just driving the track, just kind of laying back on it.
Yeah, I understand. Eldon, what, or Miss Janie, what do you, let's say the boy goes into a Winston Cup deal, gets there. Is that going to drive Mom totally nuts or what? Or Mom going to still be the cheerleader?
Oh, I'll be the cheerleader. That would be so exciting.
Would you really?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You're going to
That's your child realizing his dreams. So.
And that's what I was going for. That's probably every mom's dream, is to see their kid do exactly what they want to do, and then be good at it too. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
Oh yeah, very proud of Blake. He gives it his all with whatever he has to take out there on the track.
So, was he a good kid growing up, or was he unruly, or what?
He was the best.
Was he really?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, now you're smiling.
He was, because I'm remembering. He's always been a good kid.
Mannerly and being nice.
Very mannerly.
I didn't have much of an option.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to get Dad involved, because I know he comes from Granddaddy, so I know.
That goes back to that discipline.
Yeah. Old
generations of discipline.
Old Dad being a trooper, he's popped a head or two in his daytime. So, in his daytime deal, and I didn't want to get that into it. That's why I asked Mom to be in there. What's it like living with two racers? Is it crazy?
Well, sometimes it can get a little lonely because they're in the shops a lot, but I understand that, and it's fun.
It's fun?
It's
does
racing.
Does Mom have any race car duties?
Mostly just videoing. I am supposed to keep the suit presentable and make sure his bag's packed for the races.
Oh, okay. So
sometimes they want me to throw a few things in the cooler for him. So that's about it.
Yeah. Got to make sure they eat good,
right,
healthy, and all. Does he eat healthy, or does he eat junk food?
He eats pretty healthy.
Does he really?
Mm-hmm.
Does Mom want him to do that? I know you want him to do that, but is that a lot of people say that health food is brain food, and that it makes you think better than cheeseburgers and French fries. Is that true, or is there anything to that?
Well, I don't know. Usually, my biggest thing is pushing water to keep him good and hydrated, and beyond that, he pretty much makes his own choices. But I think he does a good job. But
he does okay there, huh?
Yeah.
So you can't give him anything wrong at all. Boy, you give him grade A deal. It's making it hard on me.
He's just that kind of guy.
I think Spiffy's trying to dig up some dirt on him.
Yeah, boy.
I can't help you there,
the bad part about it is I've known him that long that there's not even to dig up, and I don't even know why I'm trying. Because you in his days as a little kid. Yeah. I mean, he was always one of the most mannerly young men that came in there, and then his performance when he got in the cars. I mean, my guys. To work the young kids' track was the cardinal sin for them. They thought I was actually doing something terrible to them to ask them to work that track because the kids were so unruly. And Blake's buddies and him would come and man, they'd race, and you'd have a lot of the adults that would quit what they're doing to watch them. And this is on concession go-karts now.
Yeah, you
would put out that good a show that they would actually quit and watch, and I think that's so cool. Yeah. I think that's just so neat. I gotta cut you loose here, buddy, because you got to go to Bristol. Daggone it! What are you going to Bristol for?
The race.
Going to race in Bristol.
Yep. There's a 5K tonight. We got to run. I think we run like down the drag strip and around the track and through the pits and stuff, and then we're celebrating a birthday party the next day and. Then the race.
Now, are you talking race in the car or on your feet?
On my feet.
Now, what in the world? Whoa! What in the world gets you into do? Do you race everything?
I try.
If it's a race, you're going to do part of it. Explain that to me. What are they having down there? Because I don't understand.
It's just a 5K event, and my girlfriend bought me the tickets for Bristol at Christmas. And her mom signed me up for this 5K, so we're going to go do it.
So I didn't know you were a long distance runner too.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, that ought to be really cool.
Yeah,
that ought to be.
It's going to be a challenge.
Where is the pit stop involved? Is what,
right.
You know.
I hope there's more than one.
Yeah, in 5K, they're ready. But I tell you what, you see me running like that, you stop and get me because one of his buddies from State Police are after me.
That's right. I think Blake's going to rely on them long legs. You know, for the people in the radio that can't see him, he's 6'5" and weighs 160 pounds.
Yeah, I know.
I guess those long legs are going to compensate for our little short legs.
Yeah.
I
know you're not going to run it.
Nobody, no.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm finished running.
You're finished running after the State Police hint. You
right.
no longer run.
That's right.
Well, I tell you what, this has been a fun show, and we've got to cut our buddy Blake loose because he's got to go have some fun. But thank you so much for all of you inviting us as Event Radio. We've been personal friends for a long time, but Event Radio friends for allowing us to come in and sit down and spend a few minutes. Been great. Been really enjoyable. Anything you guys want to say hi to anybody or anything before we get out of here? You look at each other. I mean, you know, I wish Mom was videoing the 5K run.
That'd be something.
That'd be embarrassing.
Did you think it'd be embarrassing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the water's going to come into play.
Definitely.
I can tell you, the mom and the water jug is going to come into play.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
For being on Event Radio. We really appreciate it. And as I said in the beginning, guys, this young man has probably one of the brightest futures of anybody out there. If you want to pick you a star to watch in the making, just write down Mr. Blake Isenburg because he is the man. He's the one that's all he's going to have is just the right person to see what I have seen and what anybody that goes to a racetrack where this gentleman is wheeling a race car, you will see it for yourself. You don't have to depend on anybody to tell you. You'll be able to, you know, unless you're Ray Charles, you will be able to see it being done live and in color. But guys, thank you so much for taking the morning and being on Event Radio. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate you coming in and letting us do this. Guys, we're going to get out of here. There's no telling where we will come to you from next. One thing we never do, we never sign off one of these shows without thanking our sponsors, the most important people in our little radio lives, the guys at Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon, Beach Bend Raceway, Final Finish, no doubt the coolest body shop anywhere around our area. You can look at Earl's 55 that wins People's Choice and the number one car at every car show in the area and see why they're good at what they do. Quick Fuel Technologies, the guys that sponsor all the cool races and build the absolute best carburetor on the planet. No question. Nobody can even, the person that's in second is so far behind you wouldn't know there was a second. The Gearhead Gazette, the coolest car guy magazine on the internet, gearheadgazette.com. You can get on there and find everything that's cool that's going on within a couple of 100 miles, and the guys give you the schedule of everything going on, and just gearheadgazette.com will take you there and let you know how to keep your weekends really tied up. And last but not least, the guys at Holly Performance. If you can't find something for your hot rod out of all the things that the people at Holly make, either you don't have a hot rod or you're not looking very hard. We want to thank you for joining us on this edition of Event Radio. We're going to stab and steer, get out of here. No telling where we'll come from next, but we appreciate it. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Event Radio, covering local drag racing, stock car racing, motorcycles, go-karts. If it's got wheels and you can race it, you heard about it here. Event Radio is motorsports radio on steroids. Join us next time with your hosts, Spivey Williams and Terrible T Guy.